Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be Vice President, but I think she was not qualified to be President. I'm sure my fellow leaders are tired of hearing from all of us, but we have an important thing to do today. It's a way to close this conference. Good afternoon, everyone. When Putin launched his brutal war over 2 years ago, I promised President Zelensky the United States and our allies and our partners would stand with him for the people of Ukraine as they defended their country. Since then, all of you, all my fellow leaders, have built a global coalition to support Ukraine, supplied economic and humanitarian support, supplied weapons that Ukraine needs to defend itself. And 2 days ago, I announced a historic donation of air defense equipment to protect Ukrainian cities, troops, and from Russian missiles. And here today, with all these important people behind me, we take another important step in our collective support for Ukraine. We refer to it as the Ukraine Compact. And here's how it works. Last year, the G7 nations signed onto a declaration to protect Ukraine long-term, not just for the duration of this war, but beyond after they win. 25 additional countries quickly joined them and pledged to negotiate and sign a bilateral security agreement with Ukraine. Now, 1 year later, more than 20 countries plus the European Union have completed and signed these agreements. And more countries are finalizing theirs as we speak. This compact brings all those countries together in a unified, coordinated, and comprehensive architecture to support Ukraine, not just for now, but for years in the future. In the short term, we'll continue to supply Ukraine with the weapons, munitions, and training they need to repel Russian forces. In the medium term, we'll help build a future force that has the strength and the capabilities both to defend Ukraine and deter further aggression. In the long term, after this war is over, if Putin ever tries it again, all the countries that endorsed the compact have pledged to have Ukraine's back, just like we have it now. You heard me say it before. We're building a bridge to NATO for Ukraine, a pathway leading to an eventual membership as they continue to implement important domestic reforms. This compact, which is on the stage here, is a central piece of that bridge. What happens to Ukraine matters. It matters to all of Europe. It matters to NATO. Quite frankly, it matters to the whole world. We're united against Putin's senseless and brutal war. We are united behind Ukraine as it fights to defend its freedom and its future. We're united behind a vision of the world where free countries like Ukraine do not have to fear aggression from a brutal tyrant next door. I want to commend you, Ukrainian Armed Forces, as their defense secretary leaders are here as well, and the Ukrainian people. You're incredible. But through all of your country, you're incredible. Their courage, their determination, the sacrifices they've made. And I commend all the nations that stepped up when it counted to stand with Ukraine. I've said before, Russia will not prevail in this war. Ukraine will prevail in this war, and we'll stand with them every single step of the way. That's what the compact says, loudly and clearly. And now I want to hand it over to the President of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
Mr. President, your political future has hung over the NATO summit a little bit this week. Speaker Pelosi made a point of suggesting that your decision on whether to stay in the race was still open. George Clooney and a handful of lawmakers have called on you to step aside. Reuters is reporting tonight that UAW leadership is concerned about your ability to win.
UAW just endorsed me, but go ahead.
Thank you. My question for you is, how are you incorporating these developments into your decision to stay? And separately, what concerns do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there. Number one. The fact is that the consideration is that I think I'm the most qualified person to run for president. I beat him once, and I will beat him again. Secondly, the idea, I served in the Senate a long time. The idea that senators and congressmen running for office worry about the ticket is not unusual. And I might add, there are at least 5 presidents running or incumbent presidents who had lower numbers than I have now, later in the campaign. So there's a long way to go in this campaign. And so I'm just going to keep moving, and because, look, I got more work to do. We've got more work to finish. There's so much, we made so much progress. Think about it. Think about where we are economically relative to the rest of the world. Name me a world leader who wouldn't want to trade places with our economy. We've created over 800,000 manufacturing jobs, 1.5 million jobs. I mean, so things are moving. We got more to go. Working class people still need help. Corporate greed is still at large. Their prices, the corporate profits have doubled since the pandemic. They're coming down. And so I'm optimistic about where things are going. I've been over every inch of that, not every inch, the entirety from the poppy fields all the way to the north. I said, don't make the same mistake we made. Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Australia. I already mentioned Australia. And I met twice now, I think, with the 14 leaders of the Pacific Island nations.
What the changes in India's population and the difference.
We have a very special guest on the record.
The interview.
The role that the US side played at that point of time.
पूरी दुनिया की नजर.
Assume my phone is tapped, I can.
Rising confidence of India under Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Communist China is the greatest threat.
There will come a day that we will see far more radical extremist.
I'm still a little perplexed by why...
Your daily dose of news from India and across the world. Cutting-edge views and analysis. Tune into HT videos. Click on the bell icon to subscribe.